Magandang araw Malaysia, magandang araw Sabah, magandang araw the Philippines, magandang araw world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, salamat patang, salamat malam sa mga kaibigan ko, sa mga kababayan ko dito po sa Malaysia. I would like to say welcome all of you dito po sa programa natin Nick Talk, The Real Talk with Nico. Nandito na naman si Nico and of course today is Friday. Thanks God it's Friday po, no? Last day ng working week natin. Kumusta kayo po? Ang kababayan ko dito sa Malaysia, particularly dito sa Sabah, and very specific dito po sa Kota Kinabalu, the lone city of Sabah is Malaysia. And of course, nearby areas, district and municipalities dito sa Sabah, including ang mga friends, Malaysian friends natin sa Sarawak, and of course, ang kababayan ko dito sa dyan po sa Sarawak. Kumusta kayo? And I hope everything is running smoothly sa mga buhay ninyo. Don't forget, I will not forget of course, to greet also ang mga overseas Filipino workers. Kagaya ko, kagaya namin dito po sa Malaysia, ang mga overseas Filipino workers sa iba-ibang parte sa mundo. I would like to say, I hope everything is running smoothly sa inyo, and at the same time, Godspeed po sa ating lahat. Senior citizens po, huwag natin kalimutan ang mga super senior citizens po, at saka ang mga pregnant mothers, pregnant women, and at the same time, those who are facing some health problems po, no? Kumusta kayo? And everything, I hope everything is running smoothly. Okay, today we'll be touching something like mga issues regarding ang sitwasyon ni Tatay Digong po dyan po sa Diheg. And at the same time, we will also be touching ang 1% discount given by United States of America, particularly approved by President Donald Trump. Malaking issue pa ito po, hot issue pa ito po sa Maynila tungkol sa 19% na tariff imposed by America to the Philippines po. Ang daming mga negative, both affirmative and negative reactions coming from different or from all sorts of sectors dyan po sa Pilipinas, all sectors ng mga Filipinos po, no? They commented on this issue. Shoutout muna tayo kay Mary Lou Pentojo, is also watching ang program natin this afternoon, Friday po, July 25th. Okay? And of course, I'll also be touching this so-called, sabihin natin, so-called Thrilla in Manila Part 2. Thrilla in Manila Part 2. Ano itong Thrilla in Manila Part 2? Okay. I was still a young man, a young boy during that time. It happened that Thrilla in Manila, that was in 1975, to be exact, October 1, 1975. Ano ito, Thrilla in Manila? This is a boxing match between championship, title about ito po, between World Heavyweight Champion Muhammad Ali versus si Fraser po, no? And it happened dyan po sa Pilipinas, dyan po sa Maynila. And very particular place po talaga. It was not held dyan po mismo sa City of Manila, but it was held dyan po sa Quezon City. Sa Quezon City, October 1, 1975. And the way how we look at it, parang mayroon na naman tayong Thrilla in Manila 25. Noon is 1925 and ngayon is 2025. Thrilla in Manila, Part 2 po. Part 2. And galing lang tayo po sa about ni Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios. And ang resulta ng match nila, last July 19, 20, dyan po sa Pilipinas o dito sa Asia, ang result ng boxing bout was a majority draw. Majority draw po, no? Okay. Now, itong Thrilla in Manila, 25. scheduled to be held on July 27. July 27 ang date. Ang date nila is July 27 and it will be held at the Rizal Coliseum. And sino po ang mga boxers natin? Sino po ang mga boxers natin po? Ang mga boxers natin who will be fighting itong so-called, they call it, one of the boxers call it charity bout. Charity boxing bout. Sino-sino po ang mga boxers natin po? Excited tayo to see. I am referring to no other than the Philippine National Police Chief, si General Nicolas Torre. General Nicolas Torre versus the Davao Mayor, acting Mayor ng Davao, si Sebastian or Baste Duterte. Age difference is Torre is 55 years old and si Baste is slightly over 30 lang po, si Baste. So, there is a big age difference. In terms of height, mas mataas sabi natin, si Baste Duterte compared to, sabi natin, si General Torre, So, palagay ninyo po, sino manalo dito po, Siguro for me, I would say, it won't be a draw. It won't be a draw. At 9 o'clock, Rizal Coliseum on Sunday, July 27. Ang prediction po, my prediction, it won't be a draw. But my prediction is, it will be a drawing. Drawing match lang po. Drawing match lang po. Matuloy ba ito? Totoo ba ito? We are going to see a fight between Torre and Duterte. Kung si Pacquiao and Barrios, ang resulta ng boxing was a draw, dito po, sa palagay ko po, it will be a drawing. Drawing. But later on, we'll talk about this later on. In the meantime po, marami din mga supporters ni Tatay Digong, who is now at the detention center dyan po sa International Criminal Court. They want to know what is the latest developments po tungkol kay Tatay Digong, especially coming from the legal counsel, especially coming from the chief legal counsel nila, si Attorney Nicholas Kaufman. Nicholas Kaufman. And mayroon tayong prepared footage dito po, recorded footage. And I want to share this recorded clippings sa mga followers natin dito po sa Nick Talk, the Real Talk with Nico, so that you will have a clear picture of ano talaga ang mga latest updates regarding ang sitwasyon, ang case ni Tatay Digong, wherein Tatay Digong is the former president of the Philippines po from 2016 hanggang 2022. And is now facing charges or complaints or allegations on crime against humanity due to his implementation of the war against drug when he was the chief executive of the Philippines. Nandito po, let's watch and listen to this video clip which I prepared for all of you. And through this video clip, you will be able to have a picture, a clear picture po, updates po regarding the case of Tatay Digong or former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Let's watch and listen to this.
Today,
I'm well, thank you very much.
how is our former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte?
Well, as I said, he's always in good spirits, but he's 80 years old and he's tired.
Attorney, in your motion to defer adjudication on the urgent request for interim release, you cited several delays and roadblocks. Could you elaborate on the nature of these obstacles? Or are they primarily procedural, diplomatic, or a combination of both?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not entitled to elaborate further. The matter is subject to confidentiality, as you will have seen from the filings on the ICC website. A number of parts of that filing are redacted, and they're redacted for a reason, to protect certain interests.
Attorney, what are the specific delays, whether it is procedural, evidentiary, or logistical, that you believe justify a reassessment of the current schedule for the confirmation of charges?
Well, I want to make it clear, at the present moment in time, the defence hasn't asked to postpone the confirmation of charges hearing. The nature of the delays and the obstacles are confidential, but they are the information that we haven't received, because that's basically the substance of our application, is, in our opinion, crucial for determining an issue which could potentially bar the holding of the confirmation of charges hearing.
Because, Attorney, there is a concern that the pre-trial chamber may interpret this delay as a tactic, stalling measure rather than a legitimate legal need. How do you respond to that?
Well, the pre-trial chamber know exactly what we've argued, and the pre-trial chamber will understand that we're not deliberately stalling. I don't deliberately stall anything. I do what I believe is the best thing to do for the interests of my client.
Okay. How about the Rule 1221 of the ICC Rules of Procedures and Evidence, indicating it clearly that ensuring the efficiency of proceedings, in your view, has the Office of the Prosecutor failed to uphold any part of the obligation in this case?
Well, I'm the last person who would normally hand out awards to the prosecution, but to their credit, they have actually met their disclosure requirements as expected in this case. It's not been the case in other situations before the court, but ironically in this case, they have met their disclosure obligations. What I can say that we've been disclosed a huge amount of information, and that will take time to assimilate and to learn.
Attorney, on another note, 3 Philippine senators have called on the Senate to urge the government to formally petition the International Criminal Court for the interim release of the former president, proposing a house arrest arrangement in The Hague. Legally speaking, how likely is the ICC to consider such an appeal under any circumstances, if any? Could this influence the court's discretion in granting interim release under the Rome Statute?
I think such an initiative on behalf of the senators is to be welcomed, because it basically expresses the will of the people. However, the judges rule on evidence and rule on risk factors. So whatever these senators say, and I welcome it, I really do welcome it, and I thank them for it. Regardless, the judges have a set of rules which they use to decide whether or not an individual should be released or not.
Attorney Kaufman, is your legal team actively considering the options reportedly raised by Attorney Harry Roque to file a separate civil action under Dutch domestic law challenging the legality of Mr. Duterte's or President Duterte's arrest and detention?
Perhaps you could enlighten me. Where is Harry Roque proposing to file this?
Under Dutch under Dutch legal.
And what's the nature of this? Has he mentioned it in the media?
No, not yet. Because it was proposed that a separate legal remedy filed under Dutch laws could be a possible option. Are you actively proposing the same?
Well, this is not the first time I've heard such a crazy scheme. I would put it that way, because at the end of the day, the Netherlands have to be involved in any request to release an individual from the court, because in order to go to a target country or to country where the person has selected to be the place for him to be under house arrest, should obviously the pre-trial chamber agree, he would have to pass through the Netherlands territory. So to initiate a case in the Netherlands against the Netherlands would be a big mistake.
Cari rumah pencucian idaman Anda di mbooking.com.
Aside from the recent efforts filed before the ICC, such as the petitions for disqualification of certain judges and the request for interim release, what other legal avenues or procedural steps are you currently exploring to strengthen the case and secure the eventual return of the former president?
Well, there is a petition before the court for interim release. As you might know from a decision given by the judges yesterday, the decision on interim release will be postponed temporarily in order to allow us to present further crucial information to the pre-trial chamber.
On that note, Attorney, congratulations on the grant of your defense request to defer adjudication of the urgent motion for interim release. Ideally, is this motion expected to be adjudicated prior to the set confirmation of charges?
I hope so, but it's all tied up with the issue of information that we haven't received, delays, which are not attributable to the defense.
What is the legal significance or advantage of granting the deferment of the adjudication of the urgent motion for interim release?
And so we want to have all the information necessary to promote a claim for interim release. We still require crucial information which is available and can be made available, but because of various obstacles and delays, we haven't received it. I'm not entitled to elaborate any further on the matter.
Thank you, Attorney. If the interim release is granted, will former President Duterte be placed under arrest only during the pre-trial phase, or will it continue throughout the entire trial if the charges are confirmed?
One would hope that it will continue throughout the whole trial if charges are confirmed, obviously.
Attorney, according to the report, the ICC has disclosed 1,253 items of evidence related to alleged crimes against humanity involving the former president. Have you had the opportunity to review these materials in full? If so, what is your legal assessment or overall impression of the strength and credibility of the body of evidence?
Well, you talk about 1,000 or so items that are being disclosed. However, each one of those items sometimes contain up to 100 or even 200 pages. So it's an immense amount of information. It's disclosed electronically. And we have means and methods using the court's information technology systems to analyze that evidence, to perform keyword searches, to focus in on aspects of the case that are of interest to us for promoting the former president's defense. I'm not going to comment on the strengths and the weaknesses. I'm not allowed to. However, we are busy learning that evidence. We have a short amount of time to do it. We have a fair idea what we want to argue at confirmation, but once again, that's strategy, which I shan't be disclosing in a media interview.
Yes. Do you believe political motivations, either locally or in the Philippines or within the ICC itself, are influencing the pace or direction of the proceedings?
Well, once again, I don't get into politics. That's not my job to start making pronouncements. I've said my views in the past regarding the political motivation behind former President Duterte's current presence in The Hague. But beyond that, I'm not going to comment.
How do you respond to Vice President Inday Sara Duterte's claim that President Marcos Jr. is working with the ICC to remove her father from politics and to keep the ICC relevant?
I'm not going to comment on Vice President's comments to the media. However, what I can say is that no investigations can be carried out in the Philippines without the approval of the Philippines government. Otherwise, it would be a breach of sovereignty. Depends which way you look at it. And once again, the former president was brought here because supposedly the President Marcos, said that he was complying with Interpol. He wasn't complying with Interpol, he was complying with an ICC arrest warrant. So that is cooperation with a court to which the Philippines is no longer a member.
Are you saying that the Philippines, through these actions, are saying that we are not a sovereign country anymore?
No, I didn't say that. No, you can't carry out investigative procedures in another country without the approval of that country. Otherwise, it would be deemed a breach of sovereignty.
Is this action can also be characterized as not believing on our local judiciary?
Well, there's been all sorts of claims made by the current administration. They claim that there's no evidence left because it was all destroyed, and they claim falsely and without any foundation whatsoever that former President Duterte is possibly responsible for the destruction of that evidence. So that's why they argue that he can only be tried here. They've given a number of claims. All the time they're obfuscating the reason for him being transferred to The Hague. What I can say is that the correct place for him to be tried, given our jurisdictional arguments, is in the Philippines. He asked for a Filipino judge, he asked for a Filipino prosecutor, and he said, if I'm found guilty, I will sit in a Filipino prison.
Attorney Kaufman, can I just
Yeah.
Are you hopeful that it will be dismissed on lack of jurisdiction when Philippine government kidnap PRRD and have him to ICC and Philippine government cooperating on witnesses which vindicate the Philippine government recognizing the jurisdiction of the ICC?
Well, It's a bit of a long question, but once again, our jurisdictional arguments are before the court, and the court will give its decision in due course. Whether it gives it before or after the confirmation hearing or during the confirmation hearing, I don't know. We're coming up to the judicial recess, and traditionally, pre-trial chambers have delivered consequential judgments on the last days of the judicial year. So we can only wait and hope.
On the other hand, why postpone confirmation of charges with this further prolonged pre-trial detention of PRRD? What's your timeline to have PRRD released?
Well, once again, I haven't asked to postpone yet confirmation of charges hearing. I'm waiting to receive crucial information, and I've asked the court to decide upon that crucial information before we get to the confirmation of charges hearing.
One last question for me, I'm sorry. Why did you not wait for the documents that you needed before filing the interim release, Attorney Kaufman?
You're assuming that I didn't ask for them before I filed for interim release. Once again, I've told you that there are certain obstacles that have been placed in our way. I'm not entitled to disclose the nature of those obstacles. I hope that they will be lifted and we'll get the information that we require as soon as possible.
Attorney Kaufman, I understand that all available legal remedies before the International Criminal Court have been actively pursued in relation to the case involving our former president. In your assessment, attorney, have these efforts reached a point of diminishing returns? And to what extent do you believe the process have become politicized, if at all?
Listen, it won't serve my interests or Mr. Duterte's interests if I say that the court's a political court. I'm not going to say that, as much as people would want me to say that. It's just self-destructive. We do our best. We're lawyers. We're doing a legal job. We've explored all possible avenues, and we've pursued them with maximum vigor.
Attorney, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that the Philippines still has a viable path to bring former President Duterte back home? What factors support that level of confidence?
Between 1 to 10?
Yes.
I would say 100. If President Marcos would invite me to Manila, I'd sit down with him and I'd explain to him that nothing will happen if he allows my client to go back to Davao. He's an old man. Let him live out his life in peace, quietly, and don't interfere with him.
We understand, attorney, that Senator Marcos also came here twice already because she wanted to have a meeting with the former president, and it was not approved by the ICC. What is the weight? Should it be allowed by the ICC, this particular meeting? Will it have an impact?
Once again, there are certain judicial decisions which have been taken which I'm not allowed to comment on.
Thank you, attorney. Last question. Do you have a message for the Filipino people who are closely following the ongoing proceedings before the International Criminal Court involving the former president, Rodrigo Roa Duterte?
Yeah, here I'm going to use the Vice President's words. Take heart, be strong, and pray for his release.
Thank you, attorney. God bless you.
Okay, that's it. That's it po. You heard it from direct from the mouth of attorney Nicholas Kaufman, the level the chief counsel of Duterte po, former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. And that's it. I hope now you will have an idea of what is happening, the latest updates, the latest situation of Tatay Digong when it comes to his a case that involves or that alleged that he is involved in this crimes against humanity. And for your information, the common law wife of Tatay Digong is now at the Hague, and she's the one who is visiting her husband almost every day because in 1 week the ICC has granted 4 times visitation. So that's the latest on the case of Tatay Digong. All right, let's go to our next topic, and this time around I would like to share with you a training po ng Trilla and Manila Part 2. Trilla and Manila Part 2. Let's watch. I will share with you this footage that I have prepared for all of you. The Trilla in Manila Part 2 po. Now, first thing I'm going to show you is the so-called training of Philippine National Police Chief General Nicolas Torre. Nandito po. Let's watch. Okay, yan po si General De La Torre, General La Torre po. Why waste your time showing ang boxing skill mo po? Marami pa tayong problema dyan sa Pilipinas. Marami pa tayong problema dyan sa Pilipinas. But anyway, what he's doing is that I just want to say, maybe pass the message to the general public about the challenge extended to him by Davao Acting Mayor Baste Duterte on a fist fight po, no? So sabi niya, go siya this challenge extended to him or given to him by Baste Duterte. That's why he wants to show, or he's showing how he is preparing for the match that will be scheduled on July 27, and that falls on Sunday at 9 o'clock a.m. 9 a.m. po. And nagpa-practice ba si Baste Duterte? Of course, he is also practicing po. Nandito po for the Thrilla in Manila Part 2. Nandito po si Acting Mayor of Davao, si Baste Duterte po. Yan po. Yan po. Okay, one more time. Ang practice ni Baste, Mayor Baste Duterte. Nandito po. Let's watch again. Maiksi lang ito, but pwede na. Okay. Alright, yun po, nakita ninyo po. Both fighters are practicing po, no? Less than 1 week lang po ang fight nila. Few days lang po, they are practicing. And let's see po, matuloy ba ito? Hindi. Sa palaki ko po, kung si Barrios and Pacquiao ang result after 12 rounds po, no? Kasi 12 rounds ito. Ang result ng bout ni Barrios and Pacquiao is draw. I think Duterte and Torre will be a drawing. Drawing ito po. Drawing ito po. So, tingnan natin po. Tingnan natin. And I prepare some, sabihin natin, mga footages po, no? Some interviews kay Torre. And of course, footage also of Baste Duterte po, no? Regarding ang Thrilla in Manila. Thrilla in Manila on Sunday po, this weekend. Alright? Now, how it started? Tingnan natin po kung paano po. Dito ang explanation ni General Torre po kung paano talaga nag-umpisa, and he accepted ang challenge coming from Baste Duterte. Nandito po. Asan na yun, ha? Hold on. 143. Tingnan natin ang 143. Saan yun 143? Nandito po. Let's listen. Let's, okay, sandali, ha? About now it started. How it started? 1:43. 1:43 ba yun? Tingnan natin po. Hold on.
Matapang ka lang naman, we have the position pero kusuntukan tayo. Ano kung magkaya kita?
Well, I was informed at nakita ko rin sa social media na naghamon siya ng suntukan.
Oo, nakita namin. Nasaan naman kanya doon? Hindi ko alam kung matutuloy. Hindi ko alam.
Biglang sumiklab ang tensyon sa pagitan ng anak ng dating Pangulo at ng bagong talagang hepe ng pambansang pulisya. Hindi ito eksena sa pelikula kundi isang tunay na bangayan sa loob mismo ng gobyerno at umabot pa ito sa hamong suntukan. Hindi inaasahan ni Philippine National Police Chief, Police General Nicolas Torre III, na agad siyang babatikusin ni Baste Duterte, anak ng dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Nagugat ang lahat matapos ang panawagan ni General Torre para sa pagkakaisa at respeto sa legal na proseso, kaugnay ng may init na usapin tulad ng issue sa International Criminal Court o ICC. Ang mensahe ni General Torre ay malinaw. Manindigan tayo para sa rule of law at igalang ang proseso ng hustisya, lalo na sa maiinit na issue gaya ng mga investigasyong may kinalaman sa International Criminal Court o ICC. Ngunit tila hindi ito nagustuhan ng kampo ni Baste. Pero bago po ang lahat, baka pwede po palike yung video na...
Alright, yun po. And this time around, I will show you another video clip po about General Torre talking about the scheduled bout sa Sunday, July 27. July 27. Draw or drawing? Ito sa Sunday. Thriller in Manila, draw or drawing? Drawing lang. Tingnan natin po. Nandito ang interview ni General Torre po. Just recently po. Draw or drawing? Ayun sa akin, Draw or drawing? Kung matuloy ito, draw ba ang resulta? Or drawing lang itong match? Drawing lang ito. Para sa akin po, drawing lang ito Drawing lang ito. And, okay. Nandito po, 143. Sana yan, 148. Okay, sana yan 148. Tingnan natin muna. 148. 148. Hold on. 148. Andito po. Let's listen and watch.
Kung ready sila sa venue, I can show up. Pero nakaset na actually ang Rizal Memorial Coliseum. A ring is already being set up there para sa Sunday. So,
Parang wala pang reply siya, no?
ano sa kanya na yan? Whether he shows up or not, may mga sponsors na nagsabi na magdodonate na lang ng mga ayuda sa ating mga kababayan na nasalanta ng bagyo at ng baha.
So, sir, sa Sunday ng alas 9, nandun siya, wala pupunta ka doon.
Yes. Kasi kung wala naman siya, mag-distribute na lang kami ng ayuda. May mga ayuda kaming ready para din sa ating mga kababayan.
Kung mag-member ka sa PNPA, ng vaccine natin.
Ano no?
Member ka sa
May mga sport tayo, nung kadete tayo.
Oo nga, sir, medyo may yung agility mo, medyo nag-boxing ka talaga ba, sir, no? Alam ng mga nanonood nakikinig, sir.
Nakaready na tayo na, nag-play buo Sinusuntok nga naman nakatali ang kamay sa likod. Kaya yun na lang, ang iniisip mo, nakasan na lang loob yan.
Ako kausap-usapan din ng mga netizens, may kanya-kanya ng pambate yung mga netizens, sir.
That's good because it will help drum up the event para mas maraming sponsor. The more sponsors that we can pull in dito sa event na ito, mas maganda para sa ating mga beneficiaryo.
Sir, may mga nag-pledge na ba ng sponsor na willing mag-sponsor ng event program?
Yeah, actually meron kasi kaya nga this coming Sunday marami ng mga tao na darating sa Rizal Memorial Coliseum and at 9 o'clock. Whether he shows up or not, we will just continue with the distribution of aid sa ating mga kababayan.
Alright, yan po ang statement ni General Torre. And this time around, I will share with you the footage of statement of acting mayor of Davao City, si Baste Duterte. Nandito po. Let's listen to this footage. Hold on, ha? Let's listen to this footage. Sandali. Saan na yun? 105. Sanang 105. Duterte 105. Hold on. Nandito po. Let's listen. Watch and listen to this.
Huwag kang mag-alala, Torre, kasi matagal ko na talaga gusto makapugbog ng unggoy. Kung gusto mo lang talaga ng suntukan, bakit kailangan mo pa mga charity? Why do you need kailangan mo pang gamitin yung nangyayari ngayon? Napaha dyan sa Metro Manila. If you're really serious about this, kung gusto mo yung charity na yan, and you've laid some conditions, then let me lay my own conditions for the event. Kung serious ka talaga, these are my conditions. Pakiusapan mo yung amo mo na presidente, and let it come out of his mouth that all elected officials should undergo a hair follicle drug test. Papalagan ko yung charity mo na yan. Walang problema. If it will answer the issues nitong bansa natin, I can do that.
Okay, yun po ang condition ni acting mayor Baste Duterte po. Sabi niya, okay, you tell the president, go for a drug test. Hair follicle drug test po. And then, walang problema. So, yun na po. And until now, there is no comment, reply coming from General Torre po. And let's see. I will continue to monitor po. Parang nagiging kengkoy na itong natin. Itong istorya ng thriller in Manila. Thriller in Manila. For me, it's either a draw or a drawing. Yun lang po sa atin. Let's hear also ang earlier statement of General Torre po. Nandito po. Hold on,
Anytime naman ready tayo. Anytime naman ready tayo.
Sir, how's the practice, sir? Kumusta yung bilis ninyo? Anong observation ninyo sa power room ninyo?
Mahina na ako eh. Pero marami nagka-interest sa larong ito. Kaya, just to give them an entertainment, medyo para we can have a sort of credibility in showing up. Nag-refresh tayo ng konti sa ating mga dating ginagawa. So, mapansin nyo, matanda na tayo at sabi nga ng trainer ko, mahina na nga hangin eh. Kaya wala nang diin ng mga suntok. Kaya I really hope na matuloy ito para makita naman nila na we're serious in this dahil sa ating fundraising ito. At ito ay para naman sa mga typhoon and flood victims.
Sir, kahapon, pinoproblema natin yung Araneta dahil may concert sa linggo. May nag-offer, may Senator Lacson na nag-offer ng consular.
Okay, kung ready sila sa venue, I can show up. Pero nakaset na actually ang Rizal Memorial Coliseum. A ring is already being set up there para sa Sunday. So,
Parang wala pang reply siya, no?
nasa kanya na yan. Whether he shows up or not, may mga sponsors na nagsabi na mag-donate na lang ng pang-ayuda sa ating mga kababayan na nasalanta ng bagyo at ng baha.
So, sir, sa Sunday ng alas 9, nandun siya, wala pupunta ka doon.
Yes. Kasi kung wala naman siya, mag-distribute na lang kami ng ayuda. May mga ayuda kaming ready para dun sa ating mga kababayan.
Alright, yun po. Narinig niyo po si Torre saying that he's ready for the fight. And it will be in the Rizal Memorial Coliseum po. May mga sponsors na po. But my question is to General Torre. Okay, you are a police top police officer dyan po sa Pilipinas, ang Philippine National Police. Ano na ba kayo ng permit dyan? Have you, since you're saying you're ready, everything, may sponsors na, I'm just curious kung Sino ba nag-apply? Sino ba ito nag-organize? Sino ba nag-apply ang permit? No? Please let us know also, no? Because if we are not clear on these things, then we'll be wasting our time going to Rizal Memorial Coliseum po, no? Kasi kailangan, whether you like it or not, no? Kailangan talaga mga permits dyan po. It is a sport event and a gathering of people. I am just wondering kung I suppose si General Torre, no, some of these things also po, mga legalities po, no, procedures po, no, you have to get a permit and other documents po, no, para because this is a public event, no, public event wherein you're inviting ang publiko to gather and watch itong charity boxing match which si General Torre is saying. But he never mentioned about ano ba ito? Ang mga permits po, no? In terms of permits, meron ba ito permit o ano ba kailangan, no? And yeah, yun na. That's why I say this is another drawing, may color ito ng politics na po, no? I think somebody is directing guiding or kay General Torre po to play around with this issue po to kill down the Duterte side, Duterte side. But anyway, sabi naman ni Duterte, basta Duterte, sige, sabihin mo sa presidente, drug test kayo lahat, ituloy natin itong boxing bout, para malaman na po. But ito ang condition ko. Let him go for political test, drug test po. Yung drug test po is an issue for how many months already po or years already po. But hanggang ngayon, wala pa po ang presidente or a directive asking everybody, that includes the police, everybody to go for a drug test. Wala pa yun po. Anyway, sige lang. Ang next topic tayo po, and this will be our final topic about the from 20% the tariff down to 19% tariff po given by U.S. President Donald Trump po to the Philippines during the 3 days official visit of our President, si President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos, dyan po sa United States of America, wherein they touch on the issues of trade tariff, and of course, security of both countries po, of both nations. Now, mayroon ako dito footage and statement na coming from the Philippine ambassador to United States of America, si Ambassador Jose Manuel Romualdez po, and he was interviewed by one of the famous talk show po, no? Commentary talk show po dyan sa Pilipinas, and I'm referring to ang grupo ni Katonying. And this happened yesterday po ito, this morning, and nandito po ang statement, ang comments, reaction ni Ambassador Jose Manuel Romualdez when it comes to the 1% discount given by United States of America, ang presidente, si President Donald Trump to the Philippines during the 3 days official visit of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos, which started Sunday and he returned back to the Philippines Wednesday po. Alright, nandito po. Let's listen to the interview. Okay, let's listen to the interview. And nandito.
Are we expecting a reduced tariff lower than 19%, Ambassador?
Ayan, hindi ko pwede masagot yan. It depends already on how our conversations or negotiations will go with the USTR and also with Secretary Go. We like I said, this is just the overall goal that we will have. So So right now we're at 19%, which in a way we're happy that at least it's lower than the 20 that is being given to almost everybody. But at the same time, we're also going to look at the details on how we will be able to make it finer or fine-tune it so that possibly we can lower it. The US will agree to lower it because meron tayong iba pa mga pwedeng gawin that will give the incentive for them to lower it. Yun ang sinasabi ko.
Sana nga yung mga detalye pumabor sa Pilipinas sa mga susunod na bago magsimula yan. Ilang araw na lang, kumpatsero. Pero Ambassador, hindi mo ba nakasamang napag-usapan yung mga kababayan naman natin dyan? Baka kasama ho yun sa zero tariff na ibabalik nila dito sa Pilipinas, ha? Hindi ko kaya.
Kasi na hindi nila ito lang pwede ko sabihin sa inyo. Tayo mga Pilipino dito sa Amerika, magandang ang image natin. In fact, sabi nga ni President Trump, I love Filipinos. Doon sa kanyang golf club nga, meron siyang ilang mga Filipino-Americans that actually are his caddies and at the same time yung magaling maglaro ng golf. So kilala niya alam niya Sinabi niya sa amin yan gusto ko, okay sa akin ng mga Pilipino talaga. So ganun siya mag-usap So ngayon, because of that, lahat naman ng yung mga didiport dito, talaga namang overstaying dito. Pero hindi yung talagang intensity kagaya ng mga iba na yung galit sila na, siyempre, ang tingin nila na pupunta sila dito at they get involved in crimes. Talaga, parang sa atin, hindi natin gusto.
Alright, yun po, si Ambassador Jose Manuel Romualdez. Later on po, may follow-up video clip ako po regarding itong deportation ng mga Filipinos dyan sa United States. But in the meantime, let me share you another video clip during the program. Dos por dos po, no? Ang guest nila si Jose Manuel Romualdez. Nandito po, let's watch this segment. Itong segment po. Sandali. Alright, nandito.
Ang sa totoo lang, ang ating Pangulo, hindi siya gano'n na nagne-negotiate. Alam niya yung ating team, yan ang silang bahala sa negotiation. So, ang sagot niya lagi kay President, pag-usapan natin yan. Pag-usapan na lang natin at kung paano natin bubunuin yung tariff na yan. No? So, gano'n lang usapan nila. Yung palabas na kami, doon na lang sinabi ng Pangulo kay President Trump na siguro baka pwede tayo mag-announce something na maganda naman na para meron tayong pinag-usapan na So sabi naman ni Trump daw, sige, gawin na lang muna natin 19. Parang gano'n lang. Conversation. Sige, gawin na lang natin. Kasi ang lagi naman sinabi naman ni President Trump na hindi niya pwede mas mababa sa ibang country sa Asia. Yun ang explanation na binigay sa amin. Pero, like I said, itong usapan ito, hindi pa tapos. Dahil marami pa naman tayong the devil is in the details. Another thing, yes. We have to discuss the details of this potential agreement that we will have. Kaya, si Secretary Go ay nandyan ngayon sa Pilipinas at we will have to redo our homework and hopefully we'll be able to come back and come out with a more precise tariff agreement that we can have with the United States. But again, I'd like to emphasize that it's not an end-all, be-all. Kasi marami pa tayong magpagagawa. Not only with the US, yan sinasabi ko, kaya nga 60% nga lang yung sa ating export, yung US market.
So yung
Alright, yan po ang statement ni Ambassador Jose Manuel Romualdez po. As what I understand, sabi niya po, na akala ko that's the final decision already of President Donald Trump, na instead of 20% tariff imposed sa Philippines, goods coming from the Philippines going to United States, you have to pay 20%. But during the meeting, after the meeting, Trump decided to push it down or to give a reduction or discount of 1%, so it means 19% now. ngayon. So, ibig sabihin, what the Ambassador Romualdez was saying, hindi pa pala itong final. Hindi pa itong final po, no? Philippine side, si Go is still studying, and baka there will still be changes po. From 19, baka pwede pa rin yun magbaba sa 18, 17, 16, or 15. Kagaya sa Japan, is 15 lang po, no? Ang Japan is only 15. So, hindi pa daw final. Okay, nagtanong si Katonying about this thing po. Kasi we are only left a few more days na lang po. Akala namin na final yan yung 19% ng implementation of tariff sa Philippines starting August 1st. Pero sabi ni Romualdez, hindi pa yun final po. So let's listen to the reaction or reply of Romualdez when Katonying asked him, anong ibig sabihin niyan po? We will be expecting pa any changes on or before August 1st or what? Nandito po. Let's listen to Romualdez reaction po, no? Romualdez reaction. 103. Sandali, Sana yun? Give me time for some 103. Okay, nandito. Let's listen to this.
Ulitin ko lang, before August 1, are we expecting a reduced tariff lower than 19%, Ambassador?
Ayan, hindi ko pwede masagot yan. It depends already on how our conversations or negotiations will go with the USTR and also with Secretary Go. We like I said, this is just the overall goal that we will have. So right now we're at 19%, which in a way we're happy that at least it's lower than the 20 that is being given to almost everybody. But at the same time, we're also going to look at the details on how we will be able to make it finer or fine-tune it so that possibly we can lower it. The US will agree to lower it because meron tayong iba pa mga pwedeng gawin that will give the incentive for them to lower it. Yun ang sinasabi ko.
Sana nga.
Alright, klaro po, no? Klaro. That's it. That's the explanation of Ambassador to the US, si Ambassador Jose Manuel Romualdez. And meron pa tayo dito, isang footage po regarding the deportation of Filipinos po, no? Portion of it, si Ambassador Romualdez already mentioned earlier when I showed you the video clip. But, okay, I'll play this video clip para at least you will have a clear picture on the issue. Nandito po. Let's listen to this.
Mga kababayan naman natin dyan, baka kasama ho yun sa zero tariff na ibabalik nila dito sa Pilipinas, ha? Hindi ko kaya.
Ito, maski na hindi nila ito lang pwede ko sabihin sa inyo. Tayo mga Pilipino dito sa Amerika, magandang ang image natin. In fact, sabi nga ni President Trump, I love Filipinos. Doon sa kanyang golf club na, meron siyang ilang mga Filipino-Americans that actually are his caddies and at the same time yung magaling maglaro ng golf. So kilala niya, alam niya eh. Sinabi niya sa amin yan eh. Gusto ko, okay sa akin ng mga Pilipino talaga. So, ganun siya mag-usap eh. So, ngayon, because of that, lahat naman ng yung mga deport dito, talaga namang overstaying dito. Pero hindi yung talagang intensity kagaya ng mga iba na yung galit sila na, siyempre, ang tingin na pupunta sila dito at they get involved in crimes. Yan talaga. Parang sa atin, hindi natin gusto yung pumapasok dyan mga dayuhan na linuloko tayo, gumagawa ng fake passport. Tapos, minsan tumatakbo pa as mayor, di ba? Yung mga meron ganun na mga...
parang pinatatamaan kayo. Parang pinatatamaan kayo, Ambassador. Meron nga pinatatamaan. Pero may figures na ba? May numero na ba? Meron ho tayong mga kababayan na nasa proseso na ng pag-aayos ng mga papel nila dyan sa Amerika, hindi ho makauwi, natatakot hong umuwi ng Pilipinas.
Green card holder.
Mga green card holders na gusto lang may magbabakasyon o may aatin ng special event o occasion dito, hindi ho makauwi dahil natatakot dahil baka daw hindi sila makabalik na. Ano ho bang payo ninyo sa mga kababayan natin?
Kung wala silang ginawang masama, okay? By that, I mean, wala silang kaso na lumalabas sa computer. Obviously, ngayon, nag-exchange of information na ngayon. So, kung meron silang kaso ganun, iklaro nilang mabuti na wala na yon. Kung meron silang mga kaso, kung wala silang kaso, wala namang problema ng ganyan. Ang mga napapahamak sa ganyan lang, marami sa kanila hindi nila inayos. Maski na konting bagay lang na nag-shoplifting, whatever it is, hindi naman hindi naman gano'n ka-grave yung crime that was committed. Kailangan ayusin na mabuti. That's the only, ngayon, of course, kung talagang kinakabahan sila at lahat, my advice to them, kung hindi naman kailangan ngayon na umuwi muna until things settle down, better na gano'n. Better safe than sorry. Yun na, ngayon, yung mga talagang walang pag-asa to stay here legally, ang advice ko lagi, hindi ko naman tinigil yan, sinabi ko lagi sa kanila, you have to already self-report. In fact, nag-offer nga sa akin yung kanilang assistant secretary dito ng Department of Homeland Security, sabihin lang sa mga who are staying here, na in-offer naman to publicly, pero sinabi rin sa amin na kung gusto niyo umuwi na, kami nang bahala ng inyong pasahe at bibigyan namin pakuloy ng allowance para umuwi. Para it's easier and it's less expensive. Kasi pag i-detain ka, kailangan ilalagay mga sa detention pa.
Saka kahiya pa yun
Alright, yan. That's it sa mga Filipinos dyan sa United States of America. Kung mga green card holders, kung may, sabi ni Romualdez, kung may kaso kayo, may problema kayo dyan, and you want to go home and takot kayo, baka you won't be able to go back to United States or sa Amerika po. So, kung hindi man importante, wag na lang muna and i-clear na lang muna ang whatever problems or violations that you violated dyan sa United States of America para walang problema when you travel. No? So, yun. Yun po ang latest updates natin tungkol kay Ambassador Jose Manuel Romualdez. And finally, before I will end this episode for July 25th, Friday na Friday, thanks God it's Friday, I would like to share with you another footage po regarding ang weather condition dyan po sa Pilipinas. Alright, saan na yun? Dyan po sa Pilipinas. 101.50. Nandito po ang footage. Let's listen and watch this video clip.
Kababalik lang ni PBBM matapos ang kanyang 3-day state visit sa United States. Ang first order of business ng Pangulo, alamin ang estado ng bansa sa harap ng pananalanta ng habagat at magkakasunod na bagyo. Kalalabas lang ni Bagyong Krising sa Philippine Area of Responsibility, pero panibagong pagsubok naman ang dala ng Bagyong Dante at Emong. Base sa pinakahuling tala ng NDRRMC, nasa 765,869 families na o mahigit 2.73 million individuals ang apektado ng sama ng panahon. Ang death toll naman, umakyat na sa 12, pero 10 rito ay for validation pa. Para sa Pangulo, maganda ang naging response time ng gobyerno ngayon dahil alam na raw ang gagawin sa mga ganitong klaseng kalamidad.
Dahil marami naman tayong SOP, kahit nung nasa US pa ako, alam na namin kung ano yung kailangan gawin. Tuloy-tuloy ang proseso na pagbibigay ng relief, pag-rescue, pagbibigay ng relief, pagbubukas ng mga kalsada, patiyakin na may kuryente ang mga ospital.
Pero isa rin sa mga iniisip ng Pangulo, paano na raw ang mga estudyanteng walang pasok dahil sa malakas na pag-ulan at mga pagbaha.
Masyado na silang lugi kung mapipilitan silang hindi pumasok. So we're finding alternative ways, teaching modes na para sa ating mga bata, sa ating mga estudyante.
Panawagan ni PBBM, panahon na raw para isiping hindi na unusual ang pagtama ng mga bagyo sa bansa. Kaya patuloy daw na pinaghahandaan ng gobyerno ang mga paparating pang kalamidad, bit-bit ang mga aral ng nagdaang mga bagyo. Para sa Agenda, Joan Manalo, Billionaire News Channel.
Alright, yan po ang latest developments sa weather conditions sa Pilipinas. And of course, I would like to remind ang mga kababayan ko po dyan sa Pilipinas, especially those who are affected and most likely to be affected by the flash flood caused by 3 typhoons yata yung tayo dyan sa Pilipinas, o 4, no? One is Krising, and then mayroon tayong si Dante, mayroon tayong si Emong. Emong is, ang strength niya is weakening now, but expected rain pa po sa Pilipinas, no? Most of the areas in the Philippines. So, ingat-ingat lang tayo po. And I was made to understand, maganda din itong balita, that ang mga malls natin sa Pilipinas, dyan po sa Luzon, dyan po sa Maynila, they open the doors for the people to take shelter while experiencing heavy downpour po sa lugar nila po, no? O dyan sa Manila area. And of course, sana lang po, same thing will be taken by the management of itong mga malls, no? Mga malaking malls po, not only in Manila, but also in other parts of the country po. But at least safe, for safety purposes, no? Allow these people to take shelter sa mga establishments nila po, sa mga malls nila po, no? So ingat-ingat lang tayo. And of course, another reminder, I just want to inform you that I will also be on standby and monitoring the situation dyan po sa Pilipinas, especially on Monday, wherein we are going to have ang State of the Nation address of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos. This will be the 4th State of the Nation address of our President. It will start at 4 o'clock. Ang live coverages sa mga television stations, radio stations po sa Pilipinas will start at 3 p.m. on Monday. So, busy na naman tayo po. And don't worry, just continue with your work, mga kabayan ko dito sa Sabah. I will make sure that I will update you on the latest or ano ng mga accomplishment ni President Bongbong Marcos Jr. for the past 1 year, for the year that was, and ano mga plano niya for the coming year po, 2026. And I was also made to understand that the people, mga elected government officials natin, politicians natin, like the senators, congressmen, mayors, and who will be attending itong State of the Nation address ni President Bongbong Marcos, wala na pong red carpet according to Senate President Chis Escudero po. Hindi kagaya noon, previous Senate State of the Nation address, wherein nakikita natin po ang mga politicians natin, elected leaders natin po, parang fashion show po when they go and attend itong yearly State of the Nation address ng Presidente. So this time around po, simple lang talaga po, and wala na yung fashion show po. Wala nang red carpet, sabi ni Senator or Senate President Chis Escudero. I think it's about time also po, no? Tama na yan po, wherein they will be showing ang mga dresses nila, mga barong nila, no? Ang importante po is solve our problem sa Pilipinas po. Alright? So, siguro hanggang dito na lang ang programa natin, Nick Talk, the Real Talk with Nico. And once again, I would like to say, masking paano po, I hope I managed to entertain you. I managed to give you the news that you deserve. And sana you enjoyed itong program po natin, Nick Talk, the Real Talk with Nico, on a Friday afternoon. With this, I would like to say thank you very much for making me a part of your day today. Malaysia, Sabah, the Philippines, God bless us all, and I'll see you on my next episode. Bye.